The new Paladin versus the Polaris. Who is going to win? Well, this isn't exactly a one-on-one, but we're playing the Hunt the Polaris server-wide event that's coming with the 4.3.2 update. We're sniping the turrets in precision mode, as you can see, and also this is how fast you kill a Corsair with the 8,300 DPS full attrition Paladin manned. That was a Corsair, my friends. This is a, what is that, Cutlass Black? About 2 seconds. Okay, this is another Cutlass Black. Killed by primarily my co-pilot gunner, but now with me helping. And the last one would be, it looks like, yeah, a Saber Firebird or something like this. Come on, just hit him already. There we go, and boom! Oh, wait a minute, there's one more. There's a nice that they're also nicely lined up here. The arrow is also still there, and as soon as it gets hit, it gets destroyed. Bam! Alright, so ladies and gents, get ready for this. We're gonna destroy 2 Polaris in this video. The first one with help of a capital ship fleet, and the next one almost alone. Before we kill everything, let me show you the stats and loadouts. We have a quad size 5 attrition turret with 5,200 DPS for my co-pilot. And then we have 2 size 4 attritions left and right, so 4 altogether. Pilot control. So pilot control 3,100 DPS, and that co-pilot takes another 5,200 DPS from him. So 8,300 full laser attrition DPS is the entire firepower. Also, if you fill every missile rack with the MSD 442 variant, then you can equip 24 Dominator size 2 EM missiles, which are currently the meta with the best hit chance, and you reach around 57,600 damage with missiles. Then we have the Parapet shield with 67,800 shield energy at 3,008 HP per second recharge. And we have 3 freaking power plants in there, which when you equip the meta power plants, the Genoa that you can just buy, then you get so many points of power that all of your ship is powered by 100% without having to sacrifice a cooler or anything. So we can have both coolers of the Ice Drive, Meta Cooler, and the Hemera Drive for near maximum quantum speed with still among the highest efficiencies in range and a short cooldown, okay? So yeah, that's the setup that we're using. Let's hop into the gameplay. So while we're accepting the mission and showing you the mission details, you can see that depending on the time of when you accept the mission, some parts of the mission can already be done. In this case, 2 out of 3 phases were already finished, and the only last phase was hunt or destroy the Polaris, okay? And you can be lucky or less lucky in this server-wide event with this. Now, we're collecting our friend right here, who came from the Stinger, and we're going on the hunt of the Polaris first with support of a capital ship fleet of other players. And then we're gonna start doing the event all by ourselves with the Paladin, and only have a little bit of help of some Stinger heavy fighters later against the Polaris, okay? By the way, if you enjoy the gameplay, the energy, the commentary, or, you know, the fact that I cut things so together that there is little boring stuff in between, consider staying tuned, subscribe to the channel, and be there for the next videos as well. You saw I just got hit by just 1 missile, and somehow it already made one of my rooftops or whatever seem red as a damaged part. I'm not quite sure how this happened, but we are still okay. It's just being displayed as red, that part that got hit. Then you also saw we've took a ton of shield damage right there, because there's not just a Polaris, there is a huge amount of other ships, namely Cutlass Blacks with like high damage output, as well as some arrows and other things. And I feel like our job in this fleet as a gunship was to first take down all those smaller aggressors, okay? Also F7s with lots of firepower too. So this is what we did first, while the Idrises are already, or I believe at this point it's just 1 Idris, later there's another one coming. While the Idris is already on the Polaris, we are taking off on the job of decimating all of those enemy ships that are very plentiful right around this area. And you see we have just 1 size 3 shield like the Corsair or Andromeda has, but the shield is actually rather capable. It can protect you pretty well from all those fighters. Of course, in PvP, when you have 2 or 3 fighters on you, they will drop really fast, but those NPCs just aren't quite as effective. And despite them hitting us from all angles, we're typically able to destroy them one by one. And anything that we get in sight dies fast. I've built this Paladin completely for the meta here on the PTU, and we're using as much firepower as you can get out of this thing, okay? 8,300 DPS, there is no more damage output possible than this with these attritions. Of course, technically you could maybe raise the stat damage a little higher by equipping certain ballistics or projectile weapons, you know, but the problem is, remember, there's a 38% armor resistance on pretty much all ships, reducing the damage output that you actually do against the enemy ship hull, therefore, in the end, scoring way less damage than those attritions do, okay? Furthermore, the attritions never have to worry about ammo capacity and are just generally the ideal choice right now for anything related PvE or large targets. If you're going into PvP and you're considering to fight against fighters like this, then you would want to have Galderines and Rhinos on this ship. So this would be the loadout for that purpose, okay? But in PvE, even against smaller fighters, you kind of can go with attritions. The Polaris is still getting hunted by the Idris. However, the Idris alone it takes forever to actually kill that Polaris. So it is not before we finally come back to help against the Polaris where this thing actually begins to die, okay? Because remember, we have 8,300 DPS. This is basically close to the realistic amount of damage that the laser of the Idris will do. Yes, I know the laser of the Idris has, I think about 13,000 damage per second or so, but then there is going to be a bit of a recharge time, and also the laser does not always seem to score hits. Very often you are perfectly connected with the enemy ship, yet somehow the damage is not being transferred. So you can safely say a bunch of thousands of DPS are not realistically done by the laser simply because of those issues. Oh, there's another ship coming from behind. Alright, let's finish that off first. Whereas our 8,300 DPS are completely conveyed onto the enemy ship hull, okay? So, what is that? Is that an Avenger or something, huh? Funny, because I just recorded an Avenger Titan ship review and a starter guide, or starter pack guide, rather. Telling everybody how they can start playing Star Citizen right now, taking that huge discount deal on the Avenger Titan from the CitizenCon that really adds a lot of bonuses to it, especially that insurance. And also it hosts a giveaway too. If you haven't yet seen the video, check it out. It might be online already, or maybe it comes in a few days, I'm not sure. But yeah, so full firepower unleashed here onto the enemy Polaris, and now meanwhile we are 2 Idrises. However, I'm not sure that one guy that's sitting close to the Polaris isn't actually firing. I'm not sure what he's doing. And for some reason, this player has decided to always pummel right next to the Polaris. I can't quite figure it out, what he's doing. But the other Idris is doing a good job in maintaining the laser on the Polaris. And you see it's already relatively red on the HP. On the hull parts there. And we're shooting in from behind. By the way, in the next time when we fight the Polaris more alone, if you want to see that, you are of course free to skip ahead. We're going to be focusing certain parts of the enemy Polaris. We're not just destroying the ship. We will be using precision mode to snipe off all of its thrusters or engines. Okay, and then we're beginning to strip the Polaris of its defenses and its turrets. Starting with the size 6 twin projectile turret under the nose, and then also stripping the other 2 quad size 4s on top of the ship, okay? Now, interesting is that we wanted to finish off the Polaris here, because that explosion in the end is just so rewarding, alright? So that's what we're doing here. We're gonna continue firing at it with the other guys here, and with the Idris laser and our firepower, that Polaris is going to die pretty quickly. But the other guy is still pummeling so close to the... I don't know what he's doing. Now I accidentally fire at the Idris because he's just snuggling up so close to that thing. Super annoying Idris player, really. I don't know why he's playing an Idris. Maybe he should be playing something different, because that's not how you play this ship. But whatever. There goes the Polaris, and it goes. The explosion is pretty impressive. And while I was watching the explosion taking place, you'll see what happened next. An Idris laser beam crossed onto us. Somebody had a nice trigger finger and was bored for 3 seconds, and started to immediately switch to, okay, let me kill the guys that just helped me destroy that mission target. What a douchebag. But in any case, I instantly swapped to counter-aggression mode, set myself up behind the enemy Idris, and this is the moment when this Idris would technically get destroyed, unless he is fully manned and can defend himself. But of course, me now attacking the Idris made it so that the other Paladin that was also around, and whatever other ships, have now decided to join in the fight against our Paladin, even though we are just defending ourselves. We were being attacked by that Idris, and if I hadn't reacted so quickly, we would have been destroyed by this Idris. And me fighting back and defending myself results in the entire server deciding that our ship has to be destroyed now. Okay. I would also scrap that Paladin with my friend here, no problem, because this other Paladin is running the default loadout with Rhinos and Galdarine, which means he doesn't stand the slightest chance against our 8,300 DPS attrition build. Unfortunately though, with the Idris, the other ships, and everybody being on us, I just decided to bail, okay? I'm not gonna give those guys the satisfaction of getting us destroyed. Nope. You didn't deserve that, guys. So, we're getting back into checkmate here and repairing real quick. And then we're starting out to play the whole server event mission, which, by the way, you earn 2 million when you do it alone, which you're not going to do alone. But it's divided by all players, and the 2 million is the payout for the whole mission, divided by everybody who participates. We only had 6,000 repair, by the way, right? Just in case you're wondering, repairing that red damage, the front we had and that rooftop, was only 6,000. As usual, repair costs do not really exist unless you lose weapons. When you lose weapons, then it gets expensive. Alright, and of course, filling up missiles. Oof, that is very expensive too. But yeah, so we're now starting the new mission, and part 1 is locate and neutralize the Polaris. However, in part 1, the Polaris will escape. So you see it flying around, and when you go in there, you maybe even begin to fire or whatever, it's just going to jump away. So you can't actually kill it in part 1. You are supposed to neutralize all targets in this sector though, and leave nothing red alive. Be careful though, players can be red as well in this event, okay? So if you're using this as an event guide, which you could very well do, be aware. Players can be red too if they accidentally targeted the wrong ship with a missile, or if they accidentally hit a shot on a friendly who just crossed the crosshair for a sec, you know, and so on. And be aware. Use the tap scan to scan the ships for names. Finally, we do see player names again. And remember, every name that has no space in between. Like, I'm not counting like an underscore. Underscore in between would be a player, and names that consists of not having an empty space in between are all players. As soon as it has an empty space, it is an NPC. That's how you can recognize the difference, okay? And here we are back in this moment where we killed the enemy Corsair. The first shots didn't make it because we were too far away and the attritions are rather slow. But as soon as we get in actual firing range, where we can reliably score hits and the enemy ship can no longer dodge, basically the Corsair immediately dies. So if you were to encounter a manned Paladin with your Corsair and the manned Paladin is looking your way, you're toast. You don't stand the slightest chance. This thing is just gonna rip you to shreds. Okay, not only does it have way more hit points on its vital parts, especially the armored front, also, it has way more firepower than you, okay? And that manned turret can even hit you when you're crossing past the Paladin, and it's looking the other way, right? When you're both about to turn after each other, the Paladin can already hit you with the turret pointed backwards by the gunner. Alrighty, but we're not fighting other players right now, just NPCs, and we're still here in part 1, neutralize and locate. Okay, so the enemy Polaris has already jumped away. What's left is just destroying those remaining ships. And we are currently doing this mission all by ourselves, completely alone. We have now destroyed all ships, and that leads over to part 2 in the new event. And that is the scan and destroy, basically. You don't really have to scan, but you have to destroy those satellites. So we're now jumping over. Boop. Here we go. Let me skip to that moment when we arrive, as usual. And then also, whenever you reach a new sector, make sure to quit quantum mode, fill your shields to 100% and your weapons, because if you cross a certain distance, you may enter another server region. And when that happens, your shield status and ammo status is going to be reset. So you'll start out with 0 shields. So you want to make sure that you will recharge them to 100% before you get into combat. This doesn't always happen. You saw it here. We were at full shields immediately. But if it was a different jump, it may have been that we have 0 shielding and we have to begin recharging them from scratch. Always double check if your shields are fully charged, your weapons are ready, and then re-enter quantum mode, swipe in real quick, fly in very fast, and then, you know, there we go. So what do we have here? That looks like a Paladin too. Are we fighting a Paladin right now? I don't remember this. I think we're fighting a Paladin. Yeah. No. Oh, my bad. It's a Valkyrie. Sorry. It's just from the front, it really looked a little similar, right? Both of them being anvil ships, having this this anvil shape. Anvil ship shape, I should probably say. Yeah, my bad. It was a Valkyrie or could be an Asgard, but I think it was a Valkyrie. All right, so the Asgard looks a little different due to the huge missile turret on top of it. All right, once again, we're in combat against a lot of targets. We had to destroy the satellite, and after destroying the satellite, those targets will spawn. And unfortunately, a lot of them have a lot of firepower and are very good at hitting you with the manned turrets, like the Cutlass or the Valkyrie. So make sure to use some useful target prioritization here. Namely, first finish off what you can easily hit and destroy, which is the Valkyrie. We did this wrong here in the first instance. We let the Valkyrie live too long. Wow, something rammed into us. And from the sound of it, it didn't even get destroyed. What the heck? Okay. We have just lost our shields. Oh, actually, no, the shields are still slightly up. They're like 3% or so, but they have not yet dropped to 0. And I think that was the second last enemy, and now there's only one left. Now remember, we're about to jump in the next phase into a battle with the Polaris. And again, the Polaris is not going to be alone. There's going to be a lot of different other targets to destroy. And thankfully, we're not 100% alone, because although we have done everything so far for the server by ourselves, in the next phase, 2 Stingers, the new Vandul / Esperia heavy fighter, also come with the 4.3.2 update on the PTU here, are joining in. Important to mention though, is that despite those heavy fighters having a tremendously ridiculous amount of firepower for a heavy fighter, our Paladin has more firepower than both Stingers combined, even when they would use the maximum DPS attrition laser build. Okay, so just keep that in mind, right? And they are not using the maximum attrition laser optimum build. They're running them default, which is like, I don't know, 60% of that firepower, okay? So we basically have almost twice the amount of firepower in this Paladin compared to both of those Stingers. Alright, so part 3 has begun. Polaris showdown versus our Paladin that is fully manned. Actually, it's just manned by one person at this point, but that's kind of fully manned, really, because you don't need to have the left and right pilot guns be controlled by a co-pilot, right? At least not when you're fighting something like a Polaris. It's not like you're not getting it in sight. And wow, look how cool the Paladin looks. That quad size 5 turret is so impressive. And by the way, do you know that the Idris was supposed to have this quad size 5 gun 5 times on top of its roof and 2 times or 3 times underneath. Every dual size 5 turret was a quad size 5 turret before. On the Xenoid version event and the other Idrises that we have seen, Arlington Idris and so on. But when they came for players, let's finish it. When they came for players, they stripped 2 of those 4 size 5 guns of each turret. And even removed the size 7 nose turret, which really hurt me. So, you start this mission by hiding in the emissions cloud, which we just did. Though when the enemy gets too close, they will still spot you, and they did, with the Hurricane. We quickly dispatched of the Hurricane, and then we're taking out the next enemy. Here it is a Cutlass Black. And you see on the screen there are at least 6-7 other targets. If they all go straight at you at the same time, you may have to run, because they are actually going to be able to destroy you. There are so many ships. Okay? But if you manage to isolate them a little bit, or only have 3 of them on you instead of all 7 or 8, and also if you are able to do some useful shield ping pong. Remember, we have a front, back, left, and right side shield. You can do very effective shield ping pong with the mobile Paladin and just turn around. You can fly away from the enemy like I'm doing here, and your gunner fires backwards at the enemy while your front shield is recharging in the meantime. And before the back shield is failing, you just turn all the way back around, and boop, the enemy has to deal with almost full shields again, right? So that is what a Paladin can do that Corsair or Andromeda can't really do. Of course, you can do shield ping pong with them as well, but you're not going to have this much firepower coming backwards of your ship to be able to basically defend yourself extraordinarily effective while you're recharging the front shields. Here is a Corsair, by the way, and she just dropped my front shield and hit the cockpit a bunch of times, and it has immediately turned red. So from this point on, I will have to be a little careful with my front shields. I will have to pay attention to that and never let the front shield drop ever again. Because if that cockpit gets hit a bunch of times more, chances are we might get destroyed. It is a vital part after all. Okay, the rest of the ship is still in perfect shape though. Okay, so we've dispatched all of the ships. The only thing that's left is the Polaris. And this is also the moment when the Stingers are joining in. I believe at this point we're still alone, but soon the first Stinger arrives to fight the Polaris, and then the second one arrives. At this point though, we're still doing things by ourselves, and we're all the way on the Polaris. For some reason though, the Polaris is not polarizing its shields. I don't know, the AI is being a little brain dead right there. I'm focusing with a lag pip. I switched my target crosshair from a lead pip, auto-targeting, to a lag pip, which allows me to manually target where I'm shooting with full fire rate intact. Unlike the precision mode, where you get precision targeting options and you get points of interest for targeting marked, but you will reduce your fire rate by 30%, 40%, I'm not sure exactly the number, but you'll reduce your fire rate in precision mode. I keep full DPS and fire mode ready by using the leg pip, and I can still accurately fire at a certain point of interest, like for example, the left middle largest thruster or engine on that Polaris. You saw the first Stinger has arrived. Actually, it's 2 of them now, I believe, because I see 2 markers now. So there's 2 players now arriving with their Stingers and also working down the Polaris with us. But like I said, we are representing about 70-60% of the entire firepower of our 3 ships combined. Probably more like 70 when they're running default loadouts, which I think they are. Okay, and yeah, they are, because I can see the light strike laser cannons firing. And those light strikes, actually, I don't think they even get half the amount of damage output of the attrition build. They're very weak. But yeah, so we've stripped the enemy Polaris of all the turrets on the left side now. Sorry, thrusters. And now we're going to the right side engines. The big middle one first. We're now using the precision mode. And you'll see when the red outline disappears that we have successfully destroyed the turret. As long as the modules have an outline, they're not destroyed. I have to recharge my firepower. And in between of recharging, I always send in 2 or 3 shots so that the enemy shields never start regenerating. So, thruster is destroyed. Even though it's not falling off, as soon as the red outline disappears, it is destroyed. And the same goes for turrets. So this one is destroyed, this one also. So now it has no more thrusters. It still has a lot of maneuvering thrusters all around the ship, but it can no longer fly very fast. Now we're working down the turrets. Okay, starting with the the double size 6 projectile cannon turret under the nose of the Polaris. However, unfortunately, that part of the Polaris shields are considered the front part, and they were 100% full. So I have to work down these shields, and ideally I would have switched back to regular fire mode so I can fire with full firepower. Anyway, soon we're gonna get there. You see the shields are already polarizing in violet, which means it's about to fail. And now it soon fails. And once that happens, we can finally hit the quad. No, I keep saying it. The double cannon turret. Now we're hitting it. Right now. Every shot I'm firing is perfectly hitting that turret. And as soon as the outline disappears, now it is. The outline disappeared and the turret will turn to its default position. That is when the turret has failed. Then we were considering for a second to destroy the left and right quad size 3 turrets, but then we realized the left and right side shields are all the way full, and we didn't want to deal with them. So we went with the backside of the Polaris for a moment, and I'm watching my shield go back up. Okay, I'm hiding behind the enemy Polaris also to be able to recharge my shield. Okay, now I spotted the quad size 4 top-mounted turrets on the Polaris that are, of course, manned here by this AI. The shields are reflecting in purple, so they're basically depleted, almost. Once that is fully depleted, we're going to begin to deal damage against those top-mounted turrets. And once that happens, we should be able to destroy them very quickly. I think am I hitting? I still see a purple polarization. Yeah, the shield is still shown as intact. The front shield has like 2% energy. But not for much longer. Yeah, now it failed. Shield is gone. Now I'm actually going to start hitting the turret. And they're shooting back at me. And I have not yet destroyed the turret. But not much longer. Frontal shield has failed. I got it. Gotta get away from here. The right turret is now destroyed. Now we're destroying the left one. You see the guns are actually still intact on the right turret, but the turret itself is destroyed. Same as the other one now. So they can no longer fire. The only turrets that can still fire on the Polaris now are the turrets on the left and right. And like I said, we're not going to deal with those shields now, so we're going to destroy the rest of that ship. Interesting that there has not been a single Idris shown up yet. So, or any other capital ship. We're still just 1 Paladin and 2 Stingers on that Polaris. And it goes to show that these 3 gunships / heavy fighters can in fact destroy a Polaris, right? Even when it's fully manned. Because you can strip the ship slowly but surely of all components, turrets, thrusters, and so on. And dropping its thrusters first significantly reduces the ship's ability to engage and evade and so on. Looks pretty awesome, by the way, this footage when you're in third-person view. I wish there would be some more camera options. Some of them where you have a little crosshair at the same time, you know, and you can fly and shoot in a third-person view. But I realize that would be an arcade thing that doesn't really have any place in Star Citizen. It's just that sometimes it would be cool for video content. All right. Oh man, just look at the holes under that Polaris. Just look how many holes there are. We've already shredded this thing so much. And I don't think it's going to take a lot more to be destroyed. Yeah, we're almost at the end of this very long video here. But yeah, so this serves as two things. An entertaining display of the full capabilities of a manned Paladin with the ideal weapon situation for larger targets, as well as the mission guide for the upcoming 2 million credits server event where we hunt down a Polaris. And I believe it depends on what what faction you choose. We're hunting down the Freedom Fighters here. Actually, are they called Freedom Fighters? I believe maybe even both factions get the same mission, because you can choose this mission as bounty hunters or as citizens for prosperity. I chose it for the latter. All right. Come on, Polaris, you can't take a lot longer now. You have to be destroyed soon. I think like 20 seconds or so, maybe. Oh boy, I can barely see the enemy ship now with the sun coming through from the front. It's still interesting to see how maneuverable the Polaris still is, just with its maneuvering thrusters, right? It may not be able to fly fast away without thrusters, but engines, but all those, I don't know, 30 maneuvering thrusters all around the ship still seem to be doing a great job at keeping the ship able to turn in every direction. Being very annoying, because the idea of stripping the engines is to make it immobile, you know? To be able to safely and easily strip certain things. Okay, we destroyed it. No, it's still there. I thought we destroyed it because I heard some sort of command. Ah, there it is. That's it. Yep, now it's destroyed. Objective complete. Neutralize Polaris. And of course we could, if we wanted to, finish off the ship and just destroy it because of the nice scenery. In a second, my turret gunner will also open fire. There it is. You see the other players with their stingers. Holy moly, that looks so cool. Seriously, that Paladin is such a beast with its firepower. Still, if you play mainly solo, like most people do, playing their ships in a solo style, Corsair or a Constellation will still be the better choice. Let's be honest, you got 4 times size 5 instead of 4 times size 4 with similar mobility and shielding. So yeah, you would be better off taking the added cargo and playing the more firepower solo ship as a daily driver. But if you have somebody with you, then the Paladin will definitely become the more interesting choice. Now, by the way, there's something odd happening at the end. I'm not sure if our fuses broke or why it happened. Maybe it's because I did remove coolers here on the PTU and they've implemented a feature where you can burn out your ship and overheat it. I don't know, but in this very moment, whoop, before we actually managed to exit the warp tunnel into into Stanton, despite not hitting the edge of the tunnels anywhere, we flew out and we broke our fuses. I don't know why it happened, but we were effectively stranded from this point on. Thankfully, it was just PTU and we just exited the game here, but yeah, that happened. And serves as an interesting little outro. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you had a good time. Let me know what you want to see next. And also, yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you around. Manni off.